Ở RMIT, tôi đã học được rằng sáng tạo cần mang lại giá trị cho cộng đồng. Hiện tôi đã cùng đội ngũ dán kết nối thế hệ trẻ với di sản theo cách khác biệt, giúp bảo tàng lịch sử Thành phố Hồ Chí Minh trở nên tươi mới hơn, lịch sử trở nên sống động hơn.
Là một kỹ sư phần mềm, cùng với đội nhóm của mình, tôi phát triển Healthline, hệ thống ứng dụng AI giúp người Việt tiếp cận thông tin sức khỏe dễ dàng hơn. RMIT đã giúp tôi mở ra những cánh cửa sự nghiệp toàn cầu và hiện đang làm trong lĩnh vực công nghệ tài chính tại Melbourne, sẵn sàng theo đuổi những đột phá AI tiếp theo.
Tại MIT, tôi được lắng nghe và được học cách lắng nghe, từ đó dám thử, dám làm và dám dấn thân khởi nghiệp. Giờ đây, với Văn Hoa Creative Studio với cảm hứng cốt lõi từ văn hóa Việt Nam, tôi mong muốn tạo được tác động tích cực bằng cách kết hợp những giá trị sáng tạo với giá trị bền vững cho doanh nghiệp và cho cộng đồng.
I wanted to challenge myself and begin my journey as a global citizen. At RMIT, I was not just a student, I was a mentor, a problem solver, and a community builder. Now, as I prepare to graduate, I leave RMIT with the confidence to embrace new beginnings anywhere in the world.
Bạn đã sẵn sàng khám phá hành trình vững bước đón tương lai tại RMIT. RMIT
Good morning, everyone. Hello, Mr. Aviv Pati.
Good morning. How are you, Paul? Very nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Thank you, Phil.
Is it probably afternoon in your time, right?
That's exactly right. 2:00.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it's 4 hours difference. But
Correct.
yeah. Okay, so let's start the webinar. Good morning to all our students and my dear colleagues of the Business and Society course. So this is the foundation course of our Bachelor of Business at RMIT Vietnam. And this is a very important event. It's part of our course, and this event is organized by the course coordinator team that have Mr. Nhan, Mr. Prasad, and me. So we organizing this event in collaboration with our wonderful event team as the Business School TBS as RMIT Vietnam. So I had the pleasure to meet Mr. Aviv twice in person in Ho Chi Minh City when he came here through our common contacts from our colleague in RMIT Melbourne, and it struck me immediately that he's a wonderful leader and a passionate person who wants to make a positive impact to the society, especially to the student in developing countries. So when we had a conversation, I was really in awe by what he did and what he has been doing and his plan to do for the student in the future. So in discussion with our managers, And our manager suggests me that I should invite Mr. Aviv back to talk to our students and inspire them. And I absolutely agree with my manager. So here we are. Mr. Aviv is here to share his knowledge, his experience, and his so many wonderful stories. So today webinar will be recorded as part of the course, and our student will need to write their reflection and the analysis about the assignment and use today's event as part of the assignment. So over to you, Mr. Aviv, and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you so much. An absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Dr. Fung, for inviting me to join this this seminar, and I really appreciate the opportunity of meeting so many of the students online virtually. I can see the numbers are still coming into the room, which is fantastic. Thank you for your kind words of introduction, and thank you for the opportunity, and also appreciate all of the students taking the time out of your day to join this hour of hopefully what's going to be some inspirational words that's going to show you that you are tomorrow's future leaders, and the education you have is really the foundation of everything you need in life. You keep building on top of that, and the sky's the limit. There is no limit. It's just as far as you can go, is as far as you choose to go, and that's really what life's all about. So I'm going to give you a brief background about myself. I live in Melbourne, Australia, and how I got to be where I am in my life today. I'm going to share a little bit about that with you, and then more importantly about leadership and how we all create impact, and how it's our responsibility to create the society that we want to live in. And for us, that's really what it's all about. It's our ability to create that future leadership position. As you may be aware, I'm going to share my screen with you now. And as you may be aware, I recently published a book which is called Empowered, A New Generation of Leaders. And this is really the story of youth in Cambodia who've empowered themselves from abject poverty to middle class in just 8 years. So these are students very similar to rural students in Vietnam as well, who grew up amongst the rice fields and in Cambodia, the fishing boats. And they come from impoverished families. You know very well the history of Cambodia. You know very well the history of the Khmer Rouge in the 1970s, who devastated the country. A genocide of 25% of the population, about 2 million people, followed by the Civil War. And Cambodia is still recovering from that period. And Cambodia has a democracy which is leading the people in a peaceful way until the recent skirmish with Thailand, and that's creating prosperity. And democracy is described in different ways in different countries around the world, but to me, a democracy is where a government allows people to do what they do and get on with creating a society that can live side by side and creates opportunities. And no government in the world is perfect, my own included here in Melbourne, Australia. And both our state and our federal governments always have issues. But that's a part of living in a society, that you realise there are always things that can be done better. And so from a community point of view, our realisation is that we have a responsibility as well. Our responsibility as social leaders is to do the best we can for our country, for our communities. The governments have roles to play, organisations have a role to play, corporates have roles to play, and we, the people, we have a role to play. And how we can combine all that is how we become global citizens. So Empowered is really the story of how these Cambodian students moved from the rice fields and the fishing boats and working in restaurants to literally working for government ministries, international organizations, and into corporate boardrooms. And this is the way it was started. But I'm going to give you a brief background about myself, what qualifies me to write a book and really to have the privilege of our family founding this NGO. I was born in Germany. When I was 10 years old, my family migrated to Australia, and we've lived in Melbourne ever since. And when I was 19 years old, I, together with my family, started a family business. It's a business that was called UI1 International. Nowadays, it's called Lifestyle Brands. And my family, my parents, owned a photo shop. In the 1980s, photoshops were a very popular thing, and people didn't have a lot of mobile phones, so people were printing photos. And I actually studied I studied town planning at the University of Melbourne. 3 months into it, I've decided that wasn't my thing, dropped out, and I studied sales and marketing instead at Swinburne University. And I came to the store one day and said to my father, you know, the real business is in wholesale, not in retail. We should get into wholesale. And my parents, who believed in me, said, what do you need? $5,000 later, we traveled overseas. In those days, there was no China, there was no Vietnam to do any commerce with. We traveled to Taiwan, we traveled to South Korea, and we purchased the photo frames that you see here on the screen, which were very, very big business because there were thousands of photo shops printing consumers' photos for them to take home. So the company basically grew from what was the back of a shop into a wholesale operation, and became an international operation. The bottom right-hand side, you'll see some photos of very cute babies. That's an international license in the 1980s and 90s. The photographer's name is Anne Geddes. She took lots of cute baby photos, usually in flowers and flower pots. And we became an international distributor for Anne Geddes. And we had distributors in over 40 countries. And our categories included photo albums, gift bags, even greeting cards. We were dealing with American Greetings and Hallmark. So we really had a very international business based on what we've grown out of an organic photo shop. Just goes to show you that where you start doesn't mean it's where you're going to finish. You just need to have an open mind and create a track record. When Cal Geddes, Anne's husband, said to me, would you like to take on an international distributorship? I said to him, Cal, I live in Melbourne, Australia. That's hardly the geographic centre of the world. And he said to me, it just means you have to stay on planes a bit longer and you'll be able to go and see your distributors. I said, I'll give it a go. And the relationship lasted more than 10 years. And you can imagine we've done trade shows all over the world, from Europe to the US, even Russia and South America. So we've really established a very, very good brand reputation by creating partnerships. Every distributor we work with was a major wholesaler, and every one of those was treated as a friend. Fast forward to today, the company is fortunately very, very successful. We have an over 80% market share in photo frames and photo albums. You might think that's not a big business, but trust me, it's tens of millions of dollars. It's a significant business, and we deal with all of the national retailers. And the key to us is to develop the items from scratch. We don't just hop on a plane, go and buy a product, bring it in and sell it. We find out what the market wants. And to us as a company, business is a matter of three simple things. Ask them what they want, go get it, give it to them. So we find out what the market wants to have. We then design these products in-house. What do these face papers inside the frames look like? What the frame should look like? And then we go and produce it, bring it in, and provide that to the retailers. And so the key for us is really to be able to ensure that we give the ultimate consumer what they want and the retailers what they need to be able to reach that consumer. These are our facilities here in Melbourne, in Australia. You can see it's a reasonably sized warehouse, and everything that we do either gets exported directly from China or nowadays Indonesia and some from Vietnam directly to the retailers, or alternatively, it comes into our distribution facility in Melbourne, which is quite significant. So these items basically come in, get stored, and then they go out. The key for us is to make sure that we are a fashion business, not to have too much inventory of any one given line, and make sure that we rotate through these lines so that these retailers can have three key measurables from us. The first one is, what is the return on the space that they give us in the stores to make sure they get good return? Secondly, what is the profitability on the space in the stores to make sure that our department is competitive? And thirdly, how relevant they are to the consumers. Do they increase sales year in, year out? And we're very blessed that our national retailers have got sales increases year in, year out since we've started dealing with all of these retailers. And keep in mind, we've now been in business for 42 years. Even over the last several years where business has been tougher, we've found the strategies to keep growing the business, which for us is critical. And then in 2009, our family found ourselves in Cambodia. You can see I'm a business person. This is my background. This is what I do. I'm passionate about our company. We've got a great team, in Australia. The average tenure for our team members is 18 years, which is a phenomenal number. So how do we end up in Cambodia? And it was really quite by accident. Our family has got two daughters. Our younger daughter, Steph, she was 14 at the time, and she wanted to go to Cambodia to build houses. Unfortunately, she took the paperwork into school one day too late. The school principal said, your paperwork's too late. There's a lesson in life. It means you miss out. And she was very upset. And she came back home. We workshop. What does that mean to be late in life? And yes, it means you miss out on certain things, but other opportunities open up. And so we decided that we as a family will go to Cambodia in 2009 and volunteer to teach English at a free English school in the countryside. We've never been to Cambodia before. As you can tell, I've got no Khmer heritage. We were pretty much out of our comfort zone, which is another great lesson for everybody. Life begins at the edge of your comfort zone. Just do things you don't expect to do, not follow the predictable. And when you do that, you realize that, wow, there's a much bigger world out there than I expected there to be. So we rocked up to Cambodia and rocked up to this free English school in the countryside. We came to the school at 6:30 in the morning, and there were 60, 70 kids sitting in the class waiting for us. Here in Australia, you would never get a kid out of bed at 6:30 in the morning, let alone sitting in a classroom. We'd be lucky to get our kids to school on time at 9 o'clock in the morning. But these kids understood that education will change their lives. And the reason they understood that is because their parents are illiterate. Their parents are the survivors of the Khmer Rouge. They never had the chance to go to school. Schools were closed, universities were closed, books were banned. So these students understood, their parents understood the value of education. So we taught the classes in the morning from 7 a.m. until 11. We went back to town for a rest, came back in the afternoon and taught from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 7 o'clock at night. And we taught hundreds of students in those 2 weeks. And as word spread to the villages, this Australian family is giving us some great lessons, more and more students turned up. We returned to Cambodia. I'm giving you the quick version because I want you to give some thought to good questions for me at the end. We returned to Cambodia a few more times over the next couple of years and taught at the same school and got to know these students and understood that the pressure in the countryside was to drop out of school and get some income for the family. The families were quite poor, and when you're 14, 15, 16 years old, you're strong enough to be able to go and get some income working in the rice fields, on construction zones, and sometimes illegally moving to Thailand to work in the fields as well. And so these students, especially the older ones, were under pressure to drop out of school. And some approached us and said, would you sponsor me to keep going to school? So we decided in 2011 that we will set up an NGO, a non-government organization in Cambodia, register with the Ministry of Interior, and the NGO would support the students' education to finish high school, go to university, and give them practical life skills. Now, I'm going to fast forward to today. Today, the NGO has got over 100 students, and these students all based in Siem Reap, either in high school, the last 3 years of high school, years 10, 11, 12, or in the bachelor degree, in undergrad in Siem Reap. And then some students are now in, about just over 30 actually, now in Phnom Penh, doing their postgrad, their master degrees. And we pay for all of those. We certainly subsidise all their master degrees as well. These students all come out of disadvantaged rural families. And for them to go to a private school, a private high school, is totally extraordinary. They're often the first in their families to graduate from high schools. Very often the first in their village to finish university. People don't get those opportunities in the countryside to have the higher education that a lot of students seek to help break the family's poverty cycles. What sets our NGO apart, aside from the fact that we're based in education, is the fact that the NGO is entirely led and managed by the students. So our family lives in Australia, and this NGO is entirely led and managed by the students. And not only the NGO, but also our 7 educational social enterprises are all entirely led by the university students. This is what the NGO organization chart looks like. You can imagine it's quite complex, but let me tell you that it is just one of those amazing opportunities in life that when you join an organization like the Cambodia Rural Student Trust, CRST for short, what you get is an opportunity of becoming the best that you can be. It is your choice how far you wish to go. Just last Sunday, we had what we call the annual rotation meeting, and students got to have opportunities to move from one department or from one project to the next. And essentially, there's an assistant manager, there's a general manager for the NGO. Nowadays, we have a mentor in residence who is a first-generation student from CRST, joined us in 2011, and Deb is our mentor in residence. He's now finishing his 2nd master degree in law. He's done a master degree in international relations. He's now doing one in law because his vision is to join politics. The reason he wants to join politics is because he wants to change his country. He wants to work for the people. The reason that people should want to join politics is because they want to help their country and work for the people. And so that's his heart. He's married to a first-generation CRST student, so much. She has graduated with a master degree in banking and finance. She's got an extraordinary job. Deb and Samach are definitely middle class. They have bought a car. They own their home, a solid brick home, and they really have come from poverty to middle class in this period of time. Deb looks after the team, but the team do the work. So he basically is there to mentor them, not tell them what to do. And let me share with you really what it's all about for us. The NGO is based on 3 pillars: education, empowerment, and inspiration. By providing the students education, we tell them that education is for you so you can help other people. Through the life skills we give you as you lead and manage the NGO and the projects, you become empowered. I can't make you empowered. This is something you need to find for yourself. Empowered means power to me. So you can become empowered, and then you'll inspire other students from the countryside to say, wow, this can be done. I can break my family's poverty cycle. Let me stay at school, let me get educated, and let me earn an income that the tide will rise for everybody in my family and my community. On the right-hand side, this is our leadership team. We have a senior leadership team and a junior leadership team. Because as students all know, you all graduate at one point or another. So the juniors need to become seniors because the seniors are going to graduate. So we are in perpetual succession planning. That's a great lesson to learn. You always need to look for the next leaders. And we teach our students that it is the responsibility, a prime responsibility of every leader to look for the next leader. You're not there for a lifetime. You're there to say, I've got this. Who else can I bring through so they can keep this going and growing as it needs to happen? We taught our students from the get-go that education is really the prime of what it's all about. When you get educated, it's a gift that lasts a lifetime. You can't get uneducated. Once you have the knowledge, it's your knowledge to have, and you can share that with other people. You can see on the right-hand side, the top right side, this student actually joined us in high school. Totally extraordinary young man. Came from a very poor family. That's his mother on the right-hand side. And she's been an HIV sufferer for many, many years. Sadly, she passed away a couple of years ago. And that's her at a graduation I'm not going to give away any names, but graduation from university. And the bottom is all the graduates from university that came through that year. There were 22 of them. And every year we have between 20 and 25 graduates who finish their undergrad degrees. So one of the things that we provide everything is students with is education, but the next thing we provide them with is the opportunity of becoming empowered. And what this looks like is through community service activities. This is one of our very first ones. We build between 3 and 6 houses for rural Cambodians every year. I say we, let's be clear, as you can see on this photo, the students do this building. They build a house in just one day. On a Sunday, one designated Sunday in a month, 80 to 100 students descend on this particular location in the countryside that has been selected by the community service activity. You can tell on the bottom right-hand side, this is the shack that family used to live in along that waterway. And we've built them this house. It's going to have zinc iron walls and a zinc iron roof, and it'll last for a number of years. And it's designed to make sure this family understands that they're not forgotten, they're not lost. And please keep sending your kids to school. We will support you so you can keep sending your kids to school. So we have this year just raised sufficient funds to build our 150th home. So in the next few months, we'll build 150th home from CRST. And these are all the students that do all of the project. It's important to stress that these are students who contribute back to their communities because they want to, because they don't have the funds, but they've got the strength, the energy, and the love to say, I can support somebody else in my community. Just like we do with our family support program. We now support 28 rural families in the countryside. These are people who are living on the edge of society, abandoned mothers, the elderly who have got no children to look after them, and people who really are forgotten and have to walk around the village with a bowl to get some rice to eat it every day. And so our family support team are able to support this group, and every month we travel to all these families and provide them monthly food supplies, sufficient rice, fish sauce, all the essentials that they need, and some money to be able to survive until the next month. And if there are kids in the family, we support them to go to school, providing them bicycles, school uniforms, etc. Because again, we're stressing to the community that education is at the core. So these two projects have been going since 2011, and they've had obviously hundreds of beneficiaries. And as the NGO grew, we added what we call our educational social enterprises. This is what they look like. Essentially, we go to our students and following our business philosophy of asking people what they want. We don't go to Cambodia to resettle Cambodia. We are not here to colonize. We are here to support. We don't give people a handout, we give them a hand up. The idea is to create a society that can help itself, not become dependent. And so our students go to the rural communities, the ones they come from, and say, what do we need to help our communities? What do we need to support our communities? And Project G on the bottom left-hand side is a project which encourages girls to go to school. Because in the countryside in Cambodia, when the girls reach puberty and they start having their period, they don't have any means to be able to control their period. And so they drop out of schools a few days every month. And that's a few weeks every year. And then sooner or later, school just takes a back seat. Project G was designed to provide reusable menstruation kits to high school girls in the countryside. Since 2018, we've distributed over 30,000 of these reusable menstruation kits, which can be used for 3 to 5 years. And we also provide, as you can see in that photo, the education about puberty, the reproductive system, women's empowerment, human trafficking, and basic self-defense for the ladies as well. We also teach the boys that we have a role to play in empowering women in our society, because empowering women is not a term, it's a set of actions that we need to take. And being able to support girls and women, certainly when they have their period. Without a period, we'd have no society. We have to explain that, to say that's perfectly fine. We can talk about this as a generation to say, with respect, this is how we see things. And so we've taught now over 40,000 students in the countryside, high school students, about the reproductive system and about gender equality. On the slide in the middle, there's Project L, Light for Education. We distribute these solar study lights to students who live in energy poverty. There are over 350 villages in Cambodia who don't have electricity in their homes, in the villagers' homes. And so we distribute every year over 3,000 of these solar study lights so students can study at night and read at night and close the gap between the urban kids that have and the rural kids that don't. On the bottom right-hand side, the next slide is Project V, which is the volunteer experience. We quite often host volunteers from overseas who want to come to Cambodia to volunteer with us. There's a whole team that looks after those volunteers and allows them to have a grounded experience. And perhaps one year we can organise to have some of you come to Siem Reap, spend some time looking at the beautiful Angkor Wat temples you can see there in the background, and also volunteer with us and have some hands-on experience to see this is how we can contribute to society. We teach our students what I'm going to say to you right now. There is no magic moment in life to start helping other people. The magic moment is now. It's right now. This is what you can do. You can leave this Zoom call and start doing something for someone else who's less advantaged than you are and help them get a better life. Project B, Bicycles for Education. We repair and distribute over 1,000 bicycles for rural students every year. I say we, our students, our university students repair over 150 bicycles in just one Sunday at a rural school. And so our role is to be able to make sure that we can go and help these other rural students continue coming to school. Project W, Wash for Education. WASH is the acronym for Water, Sanitation, Hygiene. By the end of March 2026, we will have installed, I say we, our team supervise, water, sanitation, hygiene equipment. That means toilets, clean water systems, and rubbish incinerators in over 47 schools in the countryside. That's over 20,000 students that now have toilets that can now actually have clean water. Before they had no access to clean water. Imagine going to school with no access to clean water. And of course, we provide lessons, the water, sanitation, hygiene lessons about taking care of your health. Every project has got education attached to it. And on the top left-hand side, Project T, Trees for Life. Each year we plant over 5,000 trees in the countryside in Cambodia. Semi-mature trees in public areas, and these fruit trees, which we give to rural families to be able to empower themselves through improving the environment and having these fruit which they can eat or they can sell. So how do we do this? How do we have 100 university students lead these projects? Every project here is led by students. There's a general manager, an assistant manager, and then there are 6 different departments. There is an education department, operations, finance, communications, and so forth. Each of those departments is led by a student and their team. And so how do we create this organism that allows the students to run these projects and take their skill sets? They may work as a Project T communications manager for 12 months, and then they'll move to Project G as a finance team member, so they can learn more skill sets. Then they may move to Project B as an operations team member, so they can learn different skill sets. The way that we do that is we teach our students that there's a 5-step process to everything we do. And it starts with dream big. What's the biggest impact you think you can create? Don't let other people tell you stay small because it won't succeed. Just write down what you think will be the biggest thing you can accomplish. Then plan, create a plan of what you can actually accomplish, what it needs to get there. Put a timeline with it and put a budget with it, and then take action. And then as you continue down that path, correct and continue. So that really is the perpetual cycle of being able to continue to do what you do to improve on everything you do. So if you've done something at the end of every activity, what did we do well? What can we do better? What did we do well? What can we do better? And by sharpening the saw, you get better and better at what you do, and you become inspirational leaders for others in society to follow. And these are the inspirational leaders we're going to use as examples today, just to give you some idea. I'm going to start with the top right-hand side, and that's Nuck. In 2011, Nuck was a first-generation student. He was in grade 12. That's him in his private school uniform for New York International School in Siem Reap. And when I approached Nuck I asked him if he'd become the first NGO manager, he said to me, I'm a high school student. I don't know what an NGO is. And I said, well, an NGO manager runs the NGO and basically lead things. And I had to explain that it was like running a business. You'd be like the business manager. He said, I have no idea what that is either. I said, you know what? It's like the Prime Minister, because in Cambodia, everybody knows the government. You'll be the Prime Minister, but we're going to call you an NGO manager. And you'll have other students who will collaborate with you. There'll be an education manager, a health manager, a community service manager, and all of you will become the leadership team. We will teach you how to become leaders in your society. And to their credit, the students said, that's absolutely fantastic. We're happy to learn. And they really became the first generation of CRST students. 2024, Nuck nowadays owns a business. He is in real estate. He employs over 20 people. He is now married. He's got a child who goes to school. And just last week, he sent me a message on Telegram that he bought his first brand new car, an SUV. He's already had a second-hand car, but this is his first SUV. And he's become quite a successful real estate developer in Cambodia. Top left-hand side, Sreng joined us just out of high school, 2013. Sreng studied both international relations, and then he studied MIS, Management Information Systems, at Temple University in the States, in Philadelphia. He then returned to Cambodia, and we put him through an MBA at the American University of Phnom Penh. Sreng now works for the Ministry of Economy and Finance in Cambodia in the budget reform program. How do you get from living in the countryside with your mum, single mother, raising her 4 kids, to working for a ministry in a budget reform program? That's really what we offer. We offer the ability to become empowered and create a future that's going to get you as far as you choose to go. In the middle is Siniang. She joined us in high school. Now Siniang is studying her MBA in Israel, and she'll return to Cambodia next year and take up additional roles which she had previously in education. Left-hand side is Dani, joined us in high school. She's now a teacher at the Australian Centre for Education in Siem Reap. Barung joined us in high school 2016. He's now working for he's finished his MBA at Paragon University. He is now working for the United Nations in Cambodia. And Sinon on the right-hand side, she joined us also in high school, and she is now working for the Reproductive Health Organization in Cambodia and about to start a program in New Zealand on a scholarship which she received. So these students basically all able to follow the steps of going from, there's Nuck with his family in the countryside, but just before he joined our NGO, and that's his progression. And the team that he now leads in Phnom Penh in the sales team. Project Y Frozen Yogurt was actually our first educational social enterprise. It was a frozen yogurt store in Siem Reap in the Night Market Street. It taught our students how to run a profitable business. And imagine you're at university and somebody gives you the keys and says, we're going to teach you how to run this business and make money from day one. And the students learned so much from it. Unfortunately, with COVID, it had to close because tourism dried up in Cambodia. But one day it'll reopen and it'll create a lot more entrepreneurs for Cambodia, which is exactly what society needs. This is Srey Lieb on the top left-hand side, 2017, with a family in the countryside. She has just joined a new NGO in Cambodia, bottom right-hand side, graduating with honours from her bachelor degree, and she's now completing a master degree as well. And this is Trub, joined us in 2017. That's Trub in the countryside. She's also about to graduate from her MBA and working with an educational institution in Phnom Penh. This is Sreng. You've seen his photos, but now you can see his graduation. On the right-hand side, on the bottom right-hand side is the MBA from the American University. That's Sreng spending a year and a half at Temple University in the snow Imagine a Cambodian kid coming from 35 degrees to minus 15, but he survived and it's toughened him up. And you can really see his progression, and that's him in his job at the moment. When I say he's working with the Ministry of Economy and Finance, Sreng stands up on the stage and presents the vision of the budgetary reform program in Cambodia to the World Bank and the European Union and the World Monetary Fund. So he really does have a fairly senior role in what he does. Extremely, extremely humble, as you can imagine. He knows where he's come from. We always tell our students when they graduate from their bachelor degree to move to Phnom Penh, we just say, my standard line is never forget where you came from. It's too easy to forget that you really came from humble beginnings because you've got a responsibility. And the responsibility is to help other people, to bring them along. Don't leave them behind. This is the hardcore of what we actually produce. These students come from poor rural families earning an average of $200 a month. Our graduates from undergrad earn $650 a month. That's the average. We do an annual alumni survey, a biannual alumni survey. Every 2 years, we ask all of our alumni to complete a salary survey because proof of concept in the real world needs to have facts, not just emotion. And so you can see within a couple of years, these students are now at $916. 4 times their average salary. That is middle class in Cambodia. And you can see where they're going. These students are able to now support their siblings, their nieces, their nephews to continue their education. They become the inspiration for the entire village because somebody's done it. Somebody's broken the mold. This is what works. This is how you become empowered. This is how you can become the next generation of leaders in your society. And that's the 3 pillars that we build ourselves on. Educate, empower, inspire. Once you're able to create a society that is based on education, give the skill set to the next generation to say, this is how you become all you choose to become. They can then become the inspirational role models for the next generation. And that next generation says, now education can become a normal thing in our society because education is a thing that breaks poverty cycles, creates opportunities, and allows us to go as far as we want to go and create the society that we want to live in. So there it is. In a nutshell, I've left enough time for questions. I wanted to make sure that I raced through it, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have to make sure that you have enough opportunity to ask those questions. The book, which is called Empowered, A New Generation of Leaders, I have a couple of copies which I've taken to Vietnam. Be happy to bring some more with me when I come back. If anybody wants to put their name down, you're welcome to do it. I think that the critical thing for us is to make sure that young people are able to understand that you hold the power. People like me already past what we've been able to accomplish. We've done what we can. Now it's over to you to continue and do as much as you can. And when you become empowered and help other people along as well as yourself, you create this momentum. And this momentum is really what creates society. Society is made by us, by the people. And if we contribute and we do what we do, we lead by example, others follow, we create a movement. And that's the movement that creates the results that societies are built on and nations are built on. And we weave that into the fabric of a nation.
Hello.
Hello, over to you. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Aviv. It's such an amazing talk. And then you want to say something? I know you want to say something.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Aviv. That is so inspirational. I have a question for you, but actually, before I ask you this question, I just want to maybe give a little bit of background to some of our students who may not know the history of Cambodia. With this generation, I've found a lot of students don't know actually what happened over there. So, students, what Mr. Aviv is talking about is just so amazing. If you don't know the history of Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, basically in the late 1970s and early 1980s, I think I'm getting the dates right there, Pol Pot started a campaign and basically it's genocide. He killed anybody that was smart. Okay, I'll keep it really simple. This is not a history lesson, but just so you understand how amazing this is. Pol Pot went in. If you had glasses, you were dead. If you spoke more than one language, you were dead. If you had a degree, you were dead. Okay? So you have to understand how amazing this is. Just consider this for 1 second. Take all the smart people in the gene pool and get rid of them. So when we talk about rebuilding a society, this is absolutely amazing. And Mr. Aviv, I sort of, so my question to you, um, you started your business building frames, and that's a for-profit business. And then can you sort of fill in the blanks about how I know the Cambodia thing came about just out of spontaneously, but how has that helped you shift from a traditional business model to basically moving over to a nonprofit model? Is that right?
That is exactly right. So that's a very good question. So essentially what I did is I leverage my knowledge. I leverage my knowledge of business and say, what can I bring into a philanthropic activity? So essentially, as a business and as a family, we were raised not very unusual. I think a lot of people around the world to give. And typically we would donate funds or we would support certain things. And as a business, we supported 10 kids from Plan International and 10 kids from World Vision, and we felt like we've done a lot of stuff. And then we started realizing, because of my business brain, that these organizations are great. They do a lot of good things, but they also have overheads of 30 to 35%. So every $1,000 I gave, between 300 and 350 went to run the business, the philanthropic business for them, and only 600, 650 went, or 600, 700 went to the actual end users. So when the opportunity came up for us to do things hands-on, we knew that we needed to be transparent and accountable and be able to actually show everything that we do. The NGO has got no overheads because we pay for the overheads. Any donor who donates to the NGO, 100% of their funds go to the education or the project. And that's a great business model to have if you can have somebody assist. So the bridge that was between the business and how to create an NGO that is based on business models, business principles, not just an NGO that is a business for the owner to be able to make money out of, but teaching the students in the NGO that they are the beneficiaries, they are the owners of the NGO. I don't own the NGO, society does. These students own the NGO. So taking the business knowledge, implementing that into a not-for-profit is really the critical thing. And we're very blessed to have some great donors who support the work we do. Of course, our family still supports the NGO to this day as the greatest donor, but the reality is that we've got a lot of support to create a lot of the impact that we have. Individual people, corporates, organizations are all teaming up with us because they can see the impact we can create, all built on business principles. And that's really what the difference is. It's not simply a not-for-profit for the heart. It's a good combination of heart and head.
Thank you. That's just absolutely amazing. I'll have to take this up with you offline. Can you mentor me?
It'd be a pleasure.
I have an organization I'm trying to start here in Vietnam, and it's related to you. So very inspirational. Thank you.
A pleasure. Happy to connect.
You would click Mr. Aviv right away. I knew immediately. So some of our students submit their questions in advance, and also they have sent it here. But before I come to the questions, may I take the privilege of being the co-CC of the course to ask you a question first? So I read your book and it's amazing, and thank you for giving me your book. So I see some of the student is sending a message saying that they would love to have your book. So we have to see, where they can get. But student, Mr. Avi has been very generous, and he has shared with me the 2 chapters of the book that I request. So I will share the e-version of the 2 chapters for you, so you can read after today's event, and that will be very useful for your assignment. So here's my question. When I read your book, you mentioned about how you persuade your brother, who is also in the board of the company, to come on board, right? He's in the board of the company, but he has to come on the same board with you, on the same boat, running the supporting the trust in Cambodia. But when I read further into your book, there was a conversation between you and your staff in the company, and after seeing you and your family have done with the trust, they felt they were very motivated, and they brought some ideas and how to make it bigger. So can you elaborate more on how you get your team from the company to support the nonprofit initiative?
That's a good question. Thank you. Let me just say that we don't have any staff or employees in our company. Everybody's a team member, and we literally don't have staff or employees. Everybody's is in the team. And for us, it's really important. It's not just a word. It's actually got an energy that it carries. They're not just numbers. They're not just people who work for someone. They really are a part of the whole of what we do. And that's really how we engage with them on what we do in Cambodia as well. So by sharing what we do, we had some team members who said, oh, this is just fantastic. How do we share this with our customers? And by engaging the customers, more of the team members said, oh, we'd like to get on board with this as well. And so it was really simply by sharing what we do. You know, when we go and share what we do, we never ask for money. That's a good example. We don't go and say, oh, could you give us some money so we can do what we need? We simply share what we do. And then people say, how do I join you? We say, well, here are the opportunities. You can do this or this or this. And so this is how we get them engaged. And so we did the same thing with our team members at work as well. We said, how would you like to be engaged? And some said, look, we'd like to hold a fundraiser. Others said, we're going to have a fundraiser outside of work or in work. We have some team members who write monthly emails to the students, because the students, what they receive from us is education, a monthly stipend so they can afford to live on their own independently. And in return, of course, they do all these community activities, but they also have to write to their sponsors every month. And that's really, really important to connect them with people outside Cambodia and allow them to become all they can be with practicing their English and see that there's a bigger world out there. And so a lot of our team members at work will write to our team members in Cambodia. So we really engaged with them and said, what's your skill set? What would you like to be involved with? And then they told us what it is. And then we were able to make that connection, which is really, really important. So everybody's come along on the journey with us, including our customers. I've got to add, including our customers. It's really, really important to understand that the retailers we deal with understand what we do, and they understand that they're a part of this process of being able to create these opportunities for underprivileged youth.
Just to continue on what you have just said about customers, so how did you persuade your customer about what the initiative that you and the company is going toward to support the student in Cambodia? How did you persuade your customer?
So essentially, the customers have heard what we do, and this is unbelievable. I mean, as an Australian family, go to Cambodia and set up an NGO and have all these students, and you don't even live there. I mean, how do you get them out of bed in the morning and get them to go to school? The students are self-motivated because we choose the right ones. That's that. There's no secret to that. We really are very selective as to who joins. There's a new student selection team in Cambodia that spends over 6 months through a process. Three-step process to select our students. So our students have to love education, because I'm not there to wake them up in the morning. They have to have a love for helping community. Even if they are just high school students, they can teach the younger students, they can help clean up the village, they can help the teachers in the school. We want to see their character. And the third thing they have to do is they have to come from an impoverished family. Once they've got that, they go through our process, and then we select what we call the diamonds. And we just need to polish these diamonds, and they're going to start shining bright. And that's pretty much what happens. So the selection process is important. But I think that once we have these students in place, the key factor is that we've got to get them engaged to get more people engaged. And that's how we create the ongoing impact that we have. As I said, just last Sunday, we had the annual rotation meeting. And we've had more than 30 of the students write to us to say, thank you for these new opportunities. You know, nothing is taken for granted. Thank you for these opportunities. Our customers got engaged because they could see what was being created. And they said, we want to be a part of it. What do we need to do? And this is really how the customers got engaged. Some customers sponsor students. It's totally unbelievable. Other national retailers have family members go to Cambodia and interact with what we do. Just 3 weeks ago, we had a CEO from one of the major New Zealand retailers go to Cambodia to spend a week with our students. So they want to become engaged. That's really what they want to do, because they can see that we're creating the impact.
Wow, that's amazing. So one of the students submitted questions, and the student asked, you know, at your very first step when you were running the lifestyle brand, so what were you thinking, profit or society? So at the early days of your business.
Well, of course, in the back of your mind is always profit, because otherwise there's no business. But there's a million other things as well. I mean, let's not pretend the cash flow is not on top of your mind either. So the reality of the matter is that it really all starts with What do people need and what do people want? There's no point doing a business that doesn't have a need from society or a want from society. And so really it is all about the people. And honestly speaking, if you don't start that way, I don't think you'll be able to be successful in anything in life. You can create an item that may be inferior, so nobody will buy it, even though it's great. So you've got to really figure out what is the service, what is the product, and how do you give it to people in a way that answers their need or they want. Now you've got to figure out how do you make money out of it. But it all starts with people, honestly speaking. If you don't start with people, I don't know what business you'd be in. I don't know what organization you'd be in. It has to start with people. The need or the want, how will you do it better than other people? And how will you deliver it in a way that's affordable? And that's value for money. It doesn't have to be the cheapest. It's just going to be what's the best value for money and allow people to be able to generate that. So in everything I do in life, it's the same, to be honest. It's not just business or just philanthropy. It is what is the want? Ask them what they want. Go get it, give it to them. It's really where it's got to start. When we sold frozen yogurts in Siem Reap, our price was $2 for 100 grams of frozen yogurt. These are Western prices, $2 for 100 grams. And it's a self-serve machine. So the more you take, the more you pay. Our first customers were a couple of Chinese ladies, and they didn't realize the model, what it was. And so they just kept filling up their cup. $15 later, said, $15? It's like, that's a heck of a lot of frozen yogurt. I said, it's all going for education. It's not going to my pocket. It's all going to send these kids to university tomorrow. What better could you do with $15? And she said, oh, give me some more toppings. So really, you've got to make sure that people understand that they really are a part of the journey. Whether it's a team member, the students, society, everybody's to be a part of what it is. You just got to share that with them, communicate, show them how they are a part of what they're achieving.
Wonderful. I just want to, a student would like you to clarify. I think, maybe they didn't catch it, that the trust in Cambodia, was it run by the student there?
Good question again. So we basically now have three different entities. There's the Cambodia Rural Student Trust, which is an NGO, a non-government organization, registered with the Ministry of Interior. And there's a little bit of a story with that. I'll give it to you in a minute. And the second organization is the Cambodia Rural Student Foundation, which is registered here in Australia. It is an Australian government tax-deductible charity. So anybody who gives us more than $2 receives a tax deduction on their taxes. And we also got the Cambodia Rural Student Foundation USA Inc., which is registered with the IRS. So it's a 501(c) organization registered in the US. So US donors receive a tax deductibility as well. That's important because in Western countries, there are organizations that get registered and therefore more donors say, I prefer to support you because there's a benefit to me for the tax reasons. We also have other organizations we work with which give us tax deductions in Asian countries as well as in European countries. When we went to register the NGO in Cambodia, the original NGO, the trust, I went to the local member of parliament. His name is His Excellency Sien Nam. And I said, through an interconnection that I had with him, I said, we would like to register an NGO. He said, oh, just go and register an NGO. It's 7,000 NGOs in Cambodia at that time. He says, another one's not a problem. I said, no, you need to understand, we won't pay any bribes. And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean you don't want to pay any bribes? And I said, no, we have to be a clean NGO. We're going to teach our students that when we have a great vision, people should buy into our vision. We don't have to pay them to join our journey. They should buy into our vision. So we're not going to pay any bribes. We want to teach that to our students. He said, I like your thinking. Go to the ministry tomorrow and they won't ask you for any money. And that's exactly what happened. 30 days later, we had a registered NGO without paying any corruption money. A few years later, we went to the anti-corruption unit of the Cambodian government and we said we would like to have an MOU with them, a memorandum of understanding. And they said to us, why do you want an MOU with us? And I said, don't all the NGOs have an MOU with you? And they said, no other NGOs have an MOU with us because they wouldn't be able to operate so smoothly. I said, well, it's not a problem for us. If somebody doesn't want to collaborate with us because we won't pay them any bribes, that's okay for us. We'll find another way. And we were the first NGO in Cambodia to sign an MOU with the anti-corruption unit. We became known as the Clean NGO. We have excellent relationships with the authorities at all levels in Cambodia, from the village chief to the commune chief, the district governor, the provincial governor, and the ministries. It's all about saying, we're clean, we're helping, we're not here to do anything else but give. We take nothing away. We would just like you to collaborate with us. And we have a lot of support as a result.
Yeah.
Can I add a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for sharing your story. This is amazing. Um, I'm actually going back to your, the past when you're still part of a family business, right? And because it's a family business, I'm sure that most of your family or everybody associated with you must have been so focused on running the business properly and not getting distracted, right? Uh, and most of our students also come from family background. They have family businesses. So one of the thing which I would like to know is how did you balance this, being focused in the business, like, I mean, getting the profits, keep running the business, being part of that, and still getting distracted in a positive way.
It's a really, really good question. So one of the things we teach our students in Cambodia is that on our bus, there are no passengers. Everybody in our bus has to be a driver. And so every student in the NGO must be a driver. If you're not a driver, you can hop off at the next stop. We want you to be contributing. In our family, it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. So I started the business when I was 19. My brother's in the business. My father's now retired, was in the business. My wife is in the business. My daughter is in the business. But our daughter is in the business. But I have to say that everybody who wants to join understands that this is not a family business that's a free ride. If you want to be on the bus, you have to drive the bus. You have a responsibility. And if you're a member of my family, I'm probably expecting more from you than I'm expecting from somebody else. So what are you going to bring to the bus? What is your skill set? What are you contributing? What are you going to add value in? If you can't add value, then you don't need to be a free rider. You can go and ride somebody else's bus. But if you want to be in our business, you have to contribute. So every team member, every family member who joined our company started at the bottom. Nobody came into the C-suite. Everybody started at the bottom. When my wife, Michelle, started, she was somebody's assistant. When Jess, our daughter, started, and she's now a head of marketing, she started she studied graphic design. She started as an assistant. Our son-in-law started unloading containers, and then he went up step by step by step. You have to earn respect. I can't give you a badge that says respect me because nobody reads those badges. You have to earn respect. You have to earn knowledge. How do you know what the business is about if you don't start from the bottom up? So my tip for anybody who's in a family business, be humble. Be humble, because people are looking at who you are, not by your name on the building, but who you are as a person. And the respect cannot be given. It has to be earned. If you be humble, you start at the bottom, you just hang around with the people, you eat with the people, you do the things as the people, you contribute over and above. And they know, yes, this person owns the business because they're contributing over and above. That's how you're going to earn respect. That's how you're going to be able to do more and more and more. And other people are going to follow you because all of a sudden you are what you say you are. You are leading by example, not just a textbook. You are now leading, and people say, I want to be on your team because you are exactly where I want to be. And so you really create that whole ethos of the fact that people want to belong. And that's because you show them that I'm just humble. I just do what I do. I contribute. And I have exactly the same 24 hours in the day that everybody else does. And if I can make things fit into my day, including my rest time and me time and my family time, then that's really how I manage my time. And time management is a very, very important skill, as is communications, effective communications, time management. These are the essential things we teach to our students in Cambodia. We have a program called Business School, which is run once a month for a day on a Sunday. And we have our alumni come back from Phnom Penh, and they teach them critical life skills that they use in their daily lives. Before COVID, it was international business people who traveled to Cambodia that ran this program. But through COVID, we just pivoted and had our alumni come and teach those lessons. And of course, it's very effective. Your brothers and sisters are teaching you, how do you manage your time? How do you fit everything in? How do you control mental health? Because mental health is going to impact your physical health, and that's going to impact your output. So all of these things come into play. But the question is a very good one. A lot of family businesses don't succeed. A lot of family businesses can't sit around the table and have a conversation. Some people feel locked out. Some people feel left out. I think the key is just to be humble and contribute over and above. And you'll have everything coming your way, because you'll get the recognition and you're going to get the admiration of the people that you inspire in your team.
So let me go back to the 2009 when Steph have a problem with the principal. I read in the book, so it was really interesting how you opened the book with that. I said, like, oh my God, what happened to Steph? So, and then your family went to Cambodia and how it started. But back at that time when you just started the initiative and you were taking some of the profit from the lifestyle brands company
Right.
to go into the trust. So how did you persuade other people in the board to agree with you?
Well, good questions today. That's a very good one as well. So the purpose of having the whole team and lifestyle understand what we do is because when I took it to the board, I basically said, look, here is what we do as a company. And it's, of course, for the benefit of the shareholders. And here's what we do for the team members. So everybody gets a comfortable life. What if we could actually make that bigger? What if we could actually impact other people who are not giving us a return? If it's not our customers, if it's not our team members, these are just people who we don't even know. These are strangers. What if we, as human beings, could create an impact in somebody else's life and take them from poverty, eating rice with salt, to middle class in just 8 to 10 years? Would you like to be a part of a program like that, that could actually give somebody a chance at life, somebody who would be completely on the outer, and all of a sudden you recreate their life because you didn't do anything other than give them opportunities? That's all you need to do. No work for you, just give them opportunities. They say, well, we'd love to be a part of that. Well, all that's going to take is just a little bit of money. So we're going to start with a budget of $50,000 or $100,000. Is everybody up for that? Of course, there's a bit of a discussion. We could afford $50,000 or $100,000, so that's where it went. And then this is how you boil a frog. You know, you don't drop the frog into the boiling water because it'll jump out. You actually put the frog in the water and then you heat up the water, and so the frog actually gets boiled. It doesn't jump out because it got used to the temperature. So we started with a $50,000 and then we increased to 75 and 100, 150, and the funds just kept going because everybody could see the impact we were creating. Until we got to $250,000, and my brother said, I didn't sign up for this. Where's it all going to end? And so I basically found that was the limit, and we've managed things within that, and it's worked pretty well. And you know, running an NGO, it requires annual funds. It's not like all of a sudden you've done. It's not an event. You don't do it once and you walk away. We're building something, and I have to say that our aim is to become sustainable. You know, you don't want to have philanthropy fire you all the time. You want to create a sustainable model, which is where these educational social enterprises came in. So now we have other organizations and other individuals saying, I want to fund girls' support for girls' education. I want to fund a basketball program. I want to fund schools or water sanitation hygiene. So all of those funds are coming in from non-family backgrounds. And then we have individuals and organizations, I want to fund education. And they are supporting students' education. So as the funds coming in for all these social projects, our funds are aligned less and less and less and less. And so the whole idea is to create the sustainability of organizations and not make people dependent. And they're not dependent on us to lead the organization anymore. They do that on their own, but really not to become dependent on us financially, because all we'll do is be the connectors. Oh, organization will do this, organization will do that. Here's what we can do with the funds. And because we're very accountable, every activity, if somebody donated money to put in toilets and water in schools, the students will take that donor on the ride and say, we've been to the school, we've done the assessment, here's what they need, here's how we're going to build it, here's the budget, here's the timeline. All of our students know how to write a business plan. That's just 101 for us. Everybody has to understand how to engage in a business plan. And so all of these students are able to take their donors on the ride. At the end of it, say, here is the project done. Here are the students in the school with their gratitude to you for giving them clean water and toilets. Now, if you're a donor like that, you say, wow, you guys have really spent my $50,000 well. Can I give you another $50,000? And then you start the next project like that. So the accountability and the transparency are critical, because this is how we get sustainability. Because people say, I want to be engaged. I want to keep doing what you're doing, because I can see that 100% of my money went to where it had to go to. And all of a sudden we create this organization that is sustainable because of what it does. It just becomes like an EV. You know, you charge your battery as you're going along. This is what we do.
Anh Nhân, you want to say something here? I can see on your face.
So actually,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
This may not be an easy question for you. So how do you do it if you don't have a business already? for example, you have a nonprofit organization. The example I'm going to use is what I'm trying to start now. We were going for USAID funding. We had a very strong shot of getting a sizable grant to roll out across 3 major cities in Vietnam. USAID is now gone, along with our grant. So without a major donor behind it, then in our case, we're looking at creating packages, and we're going for CSR funding, but 30% of the package is going to go to administrative costs because we don't have any fund. We don't have an angel funder, basically.
So a couple of things I'd suggest on that. First of all, what you're doing is right. Go to CSR, engage. You don't have to have all the answers, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you just need a team, and the inner circle is going to give you all the answers. So it's okay not to have all the answers. So if you can find funding from other sources, that'll be individuals, organizations, or corporations. So organizations are not for profit, and corporations are for profit. And say, look, we're doing this and this and this. If you can contribute this, we will give you this. They all want some sort of recognition and involvement, and so engage with them on that. And that would give you the funding base that you need to have to be able to keep the whole thing going. And as far as the not having the organization to actually do all the hard work for free, the volunteers essentially, I think that what you may want to consider, and there are other organizations doing this, is having one of your funders pledge to fund your overheads. So when you have a funder say, I will cover all your overheads, all of a sudden you can tell these other funders, and we've got somebody taking care of the overheads, so 100% of your money is going to go to the outcome. And that's a really powerful way to engage. And I know that people have approached us to say, will you help me with the overheads? And because that's the unsexy part of running an organization. Nobody wants to pay for their rent. Nobody wants to pay for their electricity. But the reality is you need rent and electricity, and sometimes you need people as well. So if you find someone who's going to be saying, I'm your funder, and I will fund this purport. Let me give you an example. All of our high school students receive 3 meals a day. When they join us, they're all malnourished, and they'll drop out of school every other day because they don't have enough nourishment to go to school every day. So by providing them 3 meals a day at a restaurant that we contract, they have great meals and they're able to do all they need to do. We have corporate funders who fund those 3 meals a day. We don't have to fund that. There's corporate funders for that. We run an English class. English is a must-have in Cambodia. If you want to have a good job, you need to have English skills. So we have 3 lessons a week, an hour and a half each, with a great organization comes into our campus and teaches English. That's about $15,000 a year, US dollars a year, to teach English. But it's a must-have, not a nice-to-have. We have a donor just taking care of that part of the project. We've now got one donor who's going to start paying for our rent. So really what you need to do is to chunk it all down into different things. So I need 15,000 for this and 10,000 for this and something else for that. And then fund those donors and say, will you support us with any of these things, and let them support you to be able to do it. You don't have to have all the answers. You need to get these people engaged and then let them buy into the vision.
Great. Follow-up question. You had mentioned before that you have so I'm starting a 501 C3 in the US, but
Yep.
you were saying that you actually have that in multiple countries. So like, how did you go about doing it, given that each country is different? Like I'm just dealing with the US right now, and
Right.
it is not fun.
I know, isn't that great? It's
Yeah.
Dealing with bureaucracy is always not fun. You're right, but obviously it's the devil's in the details, and it's a must-have. And so I think that the critical thing is that there's organizations, and I'm happy to connect you with organizations that basically have a network of registered, or that's all they do. They basically connect funders with organizations that need to get the tax deductibility. And so they have their own network in other countries where we don't operate. As I said, in South America, which is less important to us, but Europe is very important. There's a lot of funding available in Europe and in Asia as well. And so they connect us with all of their affiliates because they themselves are a tax deductible organization, and that's all they do. They just create that network to other tax deductible organizations. But the lesson in all of this to all of the rest of the students is that you don't have to have all the answers. You just need to ask all the right questions, and then people can support you and say, oh, we can give you this and we can give you that, and then make all those introductions. There are other organizations like Rotary International that have got tax deductible status in different parts of the world as well. And so funds can go through Rotary International, through different projects they have, and get funded into the particular country that you're in. So there are multiple ways to get the tax deductibility. And sadly, a lot of people will only give money if you're tax deductible, because they just see that's a benefit for them. And so that's really how they operate.
I think let's moving on to some student where they raise question about inspirational, how you inspire them, how you keep moving, because I have received a lot of questions like this. For example, a student said, how do you manage to accomplish all of this? Have you ever been in a moment where everything felt overwhelmed? What inspired you to keep moving forward?
There's a few questions rolling into one, but I have to say that the answer is there are moments that I'm overwhelmed. There's no doubt about that at all. And when that happens, I do one or two things. I either just completely fall back on the people who will support me from behind, and I'll just our oldest daughter Jess has a very good way of putting it. She said, "Dad, sometimes you just have to let people love you," and so sometimes that's just what I do. I just not physically lay back, but just stand back, and everybody comes in and basically gives the support and the energy to continue moving. The second thing that I do is I learn to unplug. So there are just times that I simply just unplug, and I'm not available for the next 48 hours, and I just do what I do and just recharge my own energy. Everything we do in life is just about energy. Let's not pretend otherwise. Everything we do. And so we've got to bring our own energy into it. And if we can't, because we're depleted from sometimes because of different things that happen, then we got to figure out what's our strategy to get recharged. And that means you spend the time with the people who love you, that they can recharge your energy. And that means that you sometimes have to do that on your own. And so you simply just unplug and I like to go trekking. So I'm very blessed that in earlier years, I trekked to Mount Everest Base Camp, I trekked to the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro in Africa, and I trek in Japan. And I just love, that's my me time. I don't go with anybody else. I mean, on those places, I go with a small group, but Japan is myself. Me and myself, as I say, the three of us, me, myself, and I, we simply just spend time on our own, allows me to just recharge and refocus. And we all need that time. Let's not pretend that all of us are machines. We aren't. Just unplug. Don't be ashamed. There's nothing wrong with that. Tonight, we're heading to Cambodia. We'll be there for the next 12 days. On Sunday, we are walking and running the Angkor Wat half marathon. As a fundraiser for the NGO, we've raised over $7,000 to build 2 houses in the countryside. And for me, those 12 days in Cambodia are going to be a part of my recharge. I'm going to be immersing myself with the team, with the students in Cambodia, and being able to recharge all that we do. So I think that's a really good question that person's asked. Overwhelmed? Absolutely. Just know what your strategies are. And for me, it's surrounding myself with other people and just let them recharge me, or just unplug and just go and spend time on my own. Not in depressive state, but just to let me understand that there are more things in life than what I do. Walking in the forest, hearing the birds, smelling the fresh air, listening to the leaves rustle, that's really a lot more meaningful in life than other stuff we do day in, day out. So just take time out. It's okay. 2 days in your life, a week in your life, no problem.
It's wonderful. Sometimes I want to raise question, but then you already explained it in your talk. So this is not, it's really, I don't have to raise a lot question from the student. So I think the next question from the student is, the student asks how hard it is to build trust, because in your work, you have to build trust with multi-stakeholders in multiple countries. So how did you build trust? Please share with us.
The first thing I think to build trust is got to be effective communication. I think you really need to understand how to communicate effectively with people. And that means speaking people's languages. And that's really, really important. So when you're dealing with people in multiple countries, even when we travel to the US, they speak English, we speak English, but it's not the same English. It's like we would say things in a certain way that they would frown. They'd say certainly, what are you talking about? It's like you really need to understand what is it that they speak about and how they say what they say, and really adapt. So the first thing for me with trust is finding out what the people are about. It's about them. It's not about me. Once you understand building trust is about that other person, then you can start to adapt your vocabulary and your actions to that other person. And then that other person says, oh, okay, actually makes sense. He's got my interest at heart. And that's how it all gets built. And I think so effective communication, which includes obviously non-verbal communication as well, is critical. If there was one thing that I have to say we stress to all of our students is that is a life skill. You'll use this for the rest of your life, whether it's communicating effectively with yourself, with your family, your friends, society, you need to have that. And I think that trust follows understanding how to communicate effectively. And then you simply always undersell and over-deliver. Believe you can do this and this and this, but then you deliver more at the end of it. They say, wow, you've done it really, really well. And so it's really, really important not to be a salesperson, but really to be an honest broker and say, this is what I'll aim for. But you know you're going to aim higher. That's okay. But at least people will not get disappointed. So earning trust is a matter of communication, and then just following what you said you'll do. That's what you need to do. And frankly, if you can't manage it, then honestly say, hey, that fell apart. I've taken this corrective action. I just wanted you to be aware this is where I'm going. And again, people just say, wow, that's okay. You've told me the truth. I can't complain about that. So it takes a long time to build trust and many, many steps. It doesn't take a long time to lose it. It can be just one step. So it's really, really important to make sure that you spend a lot of time understanding that your credibility, what we call your brand, is paramount. You can't afford to lose that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it takes a lifetime to build, and then just take one incident to destroy it. You have shared with us about how you attract your more people to fund the trust and support the student. Some of our students, they still want you to talk more about, how you attract the investor into your business, how you persuade, how to get more funding over the time to make the NGO more sustainable. And I think also, like, since you start the trust in Cambodia, how does it affect your business, your life, the company business? So what you did in Cambodia, how did it affect back to the business in Australia?
That's a great question. So the way that we work with getting more donors into supporting the work we do in Cambodia and the NGO is essentially by sharing what we do. So we've got a program which is called the Ambassador Program, where 2 to 4 students get the opportunity of traveling outside of Cambodia to Australia or the US, and they meet with our donors and they meet with our stakeholders and they share with them what we do. I can share the story, but those students, they walk in the shoes. When they share the story, it's a lot more meaningful because it's their lives that are being impacted. And so our benefactors love to hear what they do, and they get more and more engaged and more benefactors come in. We also have other organizations like Rotary International that may sponsor a student. And so that student will be able to join that particular club on Zoom and say, here's who I am, here's what I do. Or we'll record a 3-minute video and we go and present at that club. And when the club members see that this is their student that they've been supporting for the last 3 years, sending them a message, they all get very teary-eyed because, like, I'm changing this person's life. How many times in life do we get to change somebody's life? And of course, they get very, very engaged. So we find that having those direct engagements are critical to be able to raise more funds. 3 or 4 weeks ago, Jess and I attended another fundraiser for another organization. It's called the Funding Network, TFN. We were very fortunate to be beneficiaries of $50-something thousand from TFN about 2 years ago, and we put those funds towards the water sanitation project. And this time we went to support other organizations that are pitching to get money, and we raised our hands and supported those organizations and got the opportunity of saying, you're an alumni from the Funding Network. Tell us what happened since you've done your first water sanitation high schools. And so I spoke for 2 minutes from the audience and said, here's what we've accomplished. And in the audience was another philanthropist, and he works for a very large travel organization. And he approached Jess and I afterwards and he said, oh, you and I should catch up and we should have lunch together. And so Jess and I caught up with this gentleman, Craig, a couple of days ago. And he said, we've got a very large pool of funds, and what would you like from us? We didn't even have to ask him for any money. He asked us what we would like from them. This is a complete change because we built that trust, because we built the credibility and the track record. And so they're going to be able to support a lot of the work that we do. And so the second part of your question is how do I balance those fundings with the impact and what we have at work? And the answer is that when the retailers that we deal with, the distributors that we deal with, understand what we do and how we work, they want to do more and more with us because they say they're not just giving us money. they are actually enriching society. They understand that we as a business have a social heart. It's not just for us to be able to enrich ourselves. Quite honestly, and I write this in the book, in 20, 30 years' time, I'll be dead. And so nobody's going to care about who I was and what I do. I'm not being harsh on myself. I'm just being realistic. But the world is going to be different if I can create a legacy that's helped change a person's life, and that person changed their family's life and their kid's life, and the whole society will then develop out of it. So this is a very honest thing to say to yourself, that my life is not for me. My life is for me so I can actually create impact in other people's lives. And if I can't create impact in other people's lives, then what's my life going to mean in 20, 30 years' time? Nothing. Because people lived before us and we don't know who they were either. I'm sorry, I'm not being rude, but it's just the truth. We know the people who touched us, and that's the legacy. And so when we engage with other people in business, other people in society, they really understand that this is the legacy that we together weave to create what we want to create. And that's the responsibility of all leaders, as social leaders, as education leaders, as business leaders, and of course, as national leaders. We really have to go out there and create this opportunity for others to follow. And it's not that hard. Just do a few things right, and then you start the momentum going. People are going to join you because that's what they want to do.
We have a very good question from our student. There are two parts of the question. The first part is, how did you do the training for the student in Cambodia to run the NGO? The second part of it is there any opportunity for our MIT student to volunteer in your organization in Cambodia?
Great question. So the way that we train the students is basically we took all of our business knowledge to Cambodia and said, this is how you create it. So we have an organizational chart. Every role in the NGO has got a job description. It's got job performance KPIs, key performance indicators. It's got job procedures and reporting processes. So every role has got those key things, which are critical in business. And every student fulfills those. And then after they've learned that, they will then teach it to the next generation student coming into that role, and they will learn another role. So when we had Project White Frozen Yogurt, to put it into a very concise way, we've got a general manager, we have finance, there was no education, finance, operations, marketing, production, let's just say those ones. The finance manager would learn the role, teach the role to the team, and then they would move into another team, and another team member from finance would come up and be the manager. So just like we do at work, we've got the structure in place to learn and teach, learn and teach. It just keeps going and going. And I think that's the first part of the question. We simply teach the students that it's their responsibility to develop Cambodia. I will help you so you can help yourself, but it's your responsibility to develop your country. And that's really what we teach them, and they embrace that. And the second question, absolutely, it'd be absolutely great to have some of the RMIT students travel to Siem Reap and volunteer with us. We just pick a few days or pick a week and say, there's the week. Our Project V, the volunteer experience team, will coordinate with you very easily and say, look, you're going to come and spend, I'm going to make it up, 4 or 5 days with us. We will arrange the following activities for you. One day we'll go and repair the bicycles or distribute the bicycles. Another day we'll go and do this and this and this. There will be time to experience the beauty of Angkor Wat, Kulin Mountain, maybe the floating village. I know that some things are culturally similar, perhaps. You can choose the experiences you want. It's not just volunteering. It's volunteering with experiencing the country and the culture. So it's really as much a cultural exchange. And we actually now host Australian high school students who travel to Cambodia to volunteer with us. And they all come back completely changed, because they didn't just volunteer. They actually volunteered and they just melded into the culture in Cambodia and were able to learn a lot about people. And really, that's one thing that, and I will send to you at the end of this Zoom call, we can share with the students. We have, as you come into our campus, there's a very large wall, and that wall is a mural. And that mural is the journey, the CRST journey from 2009 to 2025. And it basically just takes people on the journey of what we've done along that time in just one snapshot. But the beginning of it all is that when we traveled to Cambodia in 2009, we quickly understood that we were here not to be divided by our nationality or our religion or our beliefs. We're here to be united by humanity. And I think that when your students travel to Cambodia, that's what they're going to feel, that you are united. We are united by humanity. We're all the same. At the end of the day, we're all the same. the color of our skin, our beliefs, our religion, our nationality. That's all man-made stuff that people put labels on you. But really, at the end of the day, we are all the same. We're all human beings and we are all connected by humanity. So I think that's what the students will gain the most out of Cambodia.
That's wonderful. So I will share the link to the website of your trust to the student, so the student can take it from there. One more question from our student. I think we have a lot of burning questions for our student, which is a very good sign today. Actually, we received message from student that they couldn't join the Zoom for some reason. It was capped at 500, so otherwise it would be more. So very good news. I mean, I never been in a webinar where there are 500 people joining, so that's a very good.
Thank you. I really appreciate everybody coming in.
Yeah. So one more question from our students. So since you run your NGO, what has been one of the biggest challenges, and how did your team resolve it?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say that the biggest challenge for me, I'm going to answer from my individual personal perspective, is when I see a student leave the NGO before they graduate. So typically they would leave for personal reasons. They might leave because they've got economic pressure at home, and so they feel they've got to drop out and get a job to support their families. Our NGO, because it is entirely led and managed by the team, we've got some policies in place to support them not to get distracted. One of those policies is a healthy relationship policy. Our healthy relationship policy, which was developed and endorsed by the students, means that they cannot be involved in a romantic relationship while they are in the NGO. And we found that because there are high school students and university students, there'd be romantic relationships happening and they were unhealthy. And so the students decided, well, that's it. We're here for education. And so we won't have a romantic relationship until we graduate. And sometimes students make mistakes or decide that this policy just can't be upheld at that time. And they decide to have relationships. And so they need to leave the NGO. Those for me are the hardest moments, to be honest, because, and I describe one of those situations in the book where the tree is planted and it's growing, and before it knows that it's a solid oak tree, it already uprooted itself and went somewhere else. That doesn't mean that they don't have a great life. They do have a great life when they leave, and I maintain contact with them because they're just like my kids anyway, so it makes no difference to me, but I see what could have been if they would have stayed. That's the hardest moments for me. I quite often in the early days when that happened, I got quite depressed. It's like you are letting yourself down, not knowing the most dangerous person in the world is the one that doesn't know they don't know. And so these students really let themselves down, not knowing what they don't know. And that is that when you stay, you can become this incredible inspiration in your society. It doesn't mean you didn't become incredible, but you didn't become incredible inspiration. And I think that to me, I've just had to learn to work with that. And it's everybody's got a journey. It's not for me to manage their journey. It's for me to give opportunities and respect their journey and make them see that it can be different. But if that's their choice, I respect that. Still tough for me because I love these kids, and I believe that everybody is a diamond and everybody's able to achieve a lot more. And if I didn't have that passion, I wouldn't be involved in doing what it is. But and I wrote this in the book as well. We believe in our students before they believe in themselves, because when you come out of impoverished backgrounds, you don't really believe a lot of stuff can be done. But we believe in them, and then they learn to believe in themselves, and that's when they become empowered.
Thank you so much, Avi. Any more questions from Anh Nhân and Prasad? Okay.
I was just adding something. This video, although it is capped by 500 and possibly a lot of people could not join, but they're going to watch it later because obviously they need to. If there is any way that we could actually, give it back to you in terms of research parlance, we talk about citations, right? You would be actually cited 1,400 times in 1,400 assignments.
Thank you.
Your book, your NGO, and you would possibly get 1,400 plus citations. That'll be the
So that's really fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Thank you. I want to read you just 6 lines out of the introduction to the book, which I think was a good way to sum this up. This is literally the pre-start to the book. To the dreamers who become change makers and tomorrow's social leaders, to the followers who become leaders and the leaders who become mentors, To those who believe in others before they learn to believe in themselves. And to Michelle, Jess, Steph, the wind beneath my wings. So outside of my family, I think it's all about social leaders. It's all about you, the reader, you, the student, you who want to contribute and grow and make other people the best they can be as well.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing all these things. It feels overwhelmed. With so much load of information and understanding from you. Thank you.
A pleasure. Thank you.
So student, a lot of you raised some question I did not read out because it actually been addressed by the speaker during his talk. So if you were not really clear about the content or some part of it, please watch the recording because it's part of your course and it's part of your learning journey. So sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming because most of our students are first semester students straight from high school. So maybe they find it a little bit difficult to catch up with the flow. So so I recommend the student to watch the recording because we cannot repeat the same information, right? So thank you, Mr. Aviv, for your wonderful. I always feel inspired and motivated after a talk with you, and I hope to meet you again in your next trip to Ho Chi Minh. Yeah, thank you so much for your time. Such a great honor for us to listen to you, and I hope to welcome you again in our next event then. So before we close the floor, may I invite all the students to scan the QR code on the screen. It's very important for us to hear from you. It takes only 1 minute to complete this survey. It's only 2 simple questions, and it would help us, the lecturers, to prepare the next event better and better for you and the next student. So please help the next student by giving us the feedback about what we have done today, and it will be so useful for your peers. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate you hosting me. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mr. Abil.
A
See you
pleasure.
next time in your next trip then.
I'll let you know when I'm coming. Absolutely.
We have Starbucks again.
That sounds good. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
All the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So please, student, please send us the feedback. Chị Lê, would you mind sending the link also, or just a QR? So it takes only 1 minute, guys. So please help us to fill the survey. So after this, I will send a Canvas announcement with the chapters from the book by the guest speaker also. Okay, so thank you, everyone. I'm signing off now. Have a great Tuesday.